All right, we are live.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Tear My Glutes podcast. This is, I guess, our second episode. We're trying to come up with a better name,
Mm.
unfortunately. Fortunately, no. However you want to say it.
I think it's unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe who knows? Maybe it'll just stick. Maybe we'll just like translate it into Japanese, and that will be the name of the podcast.
God. That seems very typical of a group like us.
I don't know, man.
Oh,
Anyway,
we can just be like really lazy about it, and
Yo, we got a link.
we got
Anyway.
a link. Did I just? We sent the link.
The link's there. It's on the Skype thing. I put it in the line chat. It's also on my Twitter. Dave retweeted it. So yeah, we're Tear My Glutes. We talk about Japanese subculture and the various issues we encounter as being part of that subculture. So I guess most of us come from idols, Japanese idols. We also had other interests like I know me and Dave at one point were. Well, I used to staff Anime Expo. I know Dave still does.
Yeah, I was about to be like, yeah, Joe and I at some point had similarities. Now we are just mortal enemies. So
Pretty much.
We were once blood brothers, but now we have a death pact.
but yeah, we have commonalities between us.
Yeah, so I mean, we've done stuff in like other subcultures besides just idols and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
our theme for this week is, since we are into these hobbies that originated in Japan and are mostly based in Japan, our topic is how has the language barrier affected your like of the hobby?
Your like of the hobby.
I
Your
guess, I don't know,
experience.
your interest. How are there times where you felt that because you didn't know the language, like you felt restricted?
Mm.
So introduce yourselves when you say your answer. Also, you can talk about how much Japanese experience you actually have, and then we'll go from there. Who wants to go first?
I guess I kind of will, but I just realized I don't have any water on me because I used it up in the last podcast that I just recorded.
What a trooper!
And I'm like, oh
that's
no,
master.
I think I might die. But just to introduce myself, I am David Chang. I'm the editor-in-chief of newschoolkaidan.com, a website about Japanese idol appreciation. And we do a weekly podcast where we talk about PV impressions and have a little bit of discussions about idols and the idol industry. So, what was the question again? Sorry.
Well, have you encountered any difficulties with the language barrier? Like, are there times where like something happened, or like you really wish you wanted to know something or do something, but you couldn't because you didn't understand Japanese? You should also like I don't know how good you are with Japanese, so you might want to
Yeah.
talk about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've taken 3 years in college, 3 years of Japanese in college, and that gets me like maybe intermediate Japanese, considering how little I practice it now. Unfortunately, at some point in time, I had confidence that if I were to take the JLPT, I would ace N3. I don't know if that's I really don't know if that's possible or not at my level. So,
Did
But,
they
like,
even have N3 when you were?
yeah, they did.
Oh.
I think they had just switched over to the five tier system.
Mm.
So, I've absolutely had times where it's been like it's been a hurdle. Maybe the few that I can think of right off the bat are jokes. Like first of all, like when idols do MCs, when they do variety, all that good stuff. There are just some specific jokes that are not done completely in either common or simple language, or they take they need more context to them, or they're kind of an inside joke, or they reference something else, and it's not as easy for me to understand when, well, obviously I'm not surrounded by Japanese pop culture all the time, but at the same time, if I don't know what a word means, like that's gonna throw the whole thing off, especially during like wordplay and stuff like that. Another time where that's like super like I want to say frustrating is when like controversial news comes out and you want to find out what the truth is. A lot of the times it's like a scandal breaks out, and I personally really want to understand exactly what's being reported, or I want to know what a certain someone is saying. But if again, I'm not literate or fluent in Japanese at all, so when I'm looking that stuff up, it's like I don't, this is a lot of freaking, it's a lot of freaking Japanese, obviously, and I can't read it all, so I can't get the full understanding in a situation like that.
Okay. Any scandals in particular?
Um, I mean, the one I cared about the most was right after my Atsuko graduated.
That
There's no
drunken
scandal,
Carrie.
man.
Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, the drunken Carrie. Well, and also her shitty boyfriend, because that guy's a dick.
Go save
You're
her.
so much
Save her,
better.
Dave.
Yeah.
Now's your time. She needs you.
Yeah.
Okay, so information. I guess we can talk about that. Um, and basically,
Wait, what about everyone else?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we already have two
We
good
don't even know
topics.
everybody.
We have two good topics, and we can explore them. Like one of them is the lack of like being able to look up. Do you think like you don't know whether it's accurate or not, or you just don't, or you just want to know something?
I think that's like it could be like a combination. I remember when I first got into like idols, for example.
Well, who are you?
Yeah, so I was gonna say what I meant by everyone else is they didn't get to introduce themselves. Like I just went straight into.
Hi, so my name is David Chang. I am the editor of New School Kaidan.
God damn it.
Kaidan.
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 Keating. No, so my name is Jimmy, aka Smoltaku. I am a YouTube content creator, mainly about AKB48 group and J-pop, and we do music covers and things like that. So by all means, please check it out, and not right now. But
How good's your Japanese?
I've been kind of like casually studying Japanese maybe for the past year and a half, and I really kind of focused in maybe for like the past half a year to be completely honest. So I'm still a relative beginner, though I'm good enough now where I can like sometimes read a tweet from an idol unassisted, and that like really makes my day.
I like it when you read it and I don't have to hold your hand.
Yeah, I don't need the crutches anymore. I don't need Joe to like whisper in my ears and tell me it's okay.
It's Daijoku.
Yeah, most recently, damn it. Most recently, I was able to listen to my favorite AKB members' So Senkyo like campaign speech without subtitles, and I was able to understand like a good 85% of it.
Yo, that Pareto principle.
Yeah, that's all you need, man.
Anyway,
That's a solid B.
anyway, let's go back. Talking about like information, like how we felt restricted.
Oh yeah, so when I first got into it, I was mainly into idols for like the variety aspect. Like I didn't really care much for like the pop music at the time, so I was like, okay, well I'll just watch variety shows, and then so I remember I watched every single AK Bingo there was that was like translated already, like just back to back, and I was like, okay, well I'm out of things to watch. Guess I'll just rewatch it, and then and then I like start like trying to find like other shows and things like that, and what was the name of the skit show? Not Bimeo, but like the kind of successor to that. Either way, it was like a skit.
Konto?
Yeah, Konto, yeah. Nanimo Sokomade. And then when I think like only 2 episodes of that got subtitled or something like that, but I thought it was like the funniest thing, and I was so butthurt at the time that I like couldn't understand it, and then like that no one was subtitled. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn Japanese. Forget it. And then that's kind of when I started my casual studying
Okay.
because I ran out of things to watch.
How do you feel about like? Again, well, let's bring it back to that. I like this topic about information, or like trying to find information, or like trying to determine what's like. Is it a struggle to find out like what's accurate, or is it more of a question of just finding things to begin with?
I think like it's both. Like I mean, just there's only so much information that's already been translated to begin with at all, right? And then from there, it's like this battle to sort out what's like accurate, what's inaccurate. Like I remember today, like I was perusing like 9gag or something, right? And then there was like a scene from what is it, the Dark Knight Returns, like the animated movie, and someone completely just changed the subtitles on it to make Batman say something else completely, and then everybody else was just like, "Oh man, what movie was this from? You need to go watch it. Oh man, I love this scene." I'm like, that's not what he said at all. And so I feel like a lot of times that the same thing happens with like idol stuff, where like someone will not intentionally like try to like badly translate something, but they'll just make a joke with pictures using captions, and then it'll get passed off like it's an actual translation, and then people will think that that's like accurate information and things like that. And so it sounds like that actually being able to understand Japanese and listen like, oh, that's not what they said at all, can be like really useful.
Okay, who else hasn't spoken yet and would like to speak? There's only 2 of you guys, come on.
I mean, I can go first.
Do it, Julia.
Alright, okay.
So
The time is now.
I'm pretty new to this idol stuff. Got into it 2 months ago when I was unemployed. I am employed now and I still like it, so that's a pretty good sign. Yeah. So my level of Japanese is pretty minimal. I mean, I liked anime in middle school, still like it to some degree now. But like, I can pick up like a few words here and there. So basically nothing is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, what have you, what difficulties have you encountered? Same things?
Yeah, like pretty similar to, what's been said before, like, wanting, like, there's like a lot of content out there, and, for not being able to, like, actually, like, understand what people are saying is hard, and, like, being at the mercy of, like, subs, it can be kind of frustrating because, like, there's stuff I want to watch, but it's not subbed yet. And which is, like I get it, like, most of the people who are doing the work to translate it and, like, put it out there is, like, basically for free is, like, I don't expect them to try to, like, pound things out so fast. So, yeah.
Hashtag lazy suburbs.
Shut up.
But I mean, like they have other shit to do, so I get it. But then,
Do you really, Joe? Do you have other things to do?
Huh?
Do you have other things to do?
Oh, yeah. Like instead of spending all this time translating something for somebody, I can actually do things related to that hobby for myself.
Oh, wow.
Damn, I need to get some rice to go with all this salt.
What was I gonna say? Oh, so like, do you watch stuff untranslated?
I've done that before, and I've like I still enjoy it, but I know I'm missing a lot. Like, like I tried watching like the YNN like segments that they post on like YouTube.
Oh yeah, those are tough.
Yeah, so it's just like basically I'm just like watching them talk, and I have no clue what's going on. and then once in a while there'll be something like a physical gag, or like I understand what the joke is generally because it's like an inside joke from something that's already been subtitled.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's why like so many people like AK Bingo, because it's so like visual.
Yeah, it's like that's like
it's really visual.
Your bread and butter if you don't understand.
Yeah, like that clip that got crazy viral recently.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Like you don't even need to hear them talk to enjoy that clip.
That's very true.
So for anybody who doesn't watch AK Bingo but saw that, which I doubt is 0% of the people watching this podcast, but there's funnier things on the show. Give it a chance.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know, man. Like if you're gonna show that. If you're gonna show somebody a clip from AK Bingo where if they didn't know the language and they would enjoy it, that's pretty high up there, man.
I don't know. My favorite is still when they force Takamina to go to the cafe.
Oh god, yeah.
And steal food off of people's plates, because that's a universal
so good.
awkward. Like you can just watch people's faces and just be like, oh my god, this is so bad.
Yeah, but she knew that she was stealing people's, or she had to do really weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you didn't know, and you're just
You're
like,
right.
why is she in the studio?
That's true.
Like-
That's
Does he
true.
eat that dude's food? Is he mad? Does he work here? I can't know.
He looked really mad too when she took his steak.
Yeah,
She
it
was
was
pissed.
like one piece of steak left, and she was like, huh. And he was just.
So incensed.
But anyways,
All
sorry.
right, last we have
Yes.
Wilson.
Hi, I am Wilson Tran. I get to speak again, and also known as @Narzake. I'm still in the works of starting my Japanese vlogging. I haven't made the preview video yet, but I'm planning on getting that done this weekend. My level of Japanese, I started self-studying my sophomore year of high school, which is about 4 years ago, and in that year I mastered hiragana and katakana, but then that was the extent of my self-studying. I had zero motivation of going further.
Jesus.
So, yeah. Then,
Yo, dude, I learned the alphabet. We're done. We're done.
What a world of hurt after that.
but it was really fun though because
Three alphabets?
yeah, after you learned all that and you watch variety shows, because when they have those subtitles in the bottom, like in Japanese, you know, and they have all these like letters and stuff. Like I just skipped the kanji and feel good about myself by reading the hiragana and katakana. But it was so cool at the time. I was like, oh my god, I'm making progress. But in like 2 more years, I didn't make any progress at all. So then I realized I can't like self-study. I need to have somebody like guiding through my studying. So I needed a teacher, is what they call.
Yes, that's what they call it in English.
Yeah.
A teacher. They teach.
You mean, you mean
They say a teacher.
Yeah, and then I started studying Japanese in college. I mean, it's one of the requirements to learn a language, so I might as well take Japanese, and I got significantly better from that. And if you knew me for a while, for like over a year or so, then you would actually see my progress. It's quite fun. Yeah.
Humble brag.
All right. So, difficulties encountered. It doesn't even have to be about, because I know we're idol based, but I mean, there
Yeah.
could be anything like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe you wanted to play a game that like came out in Japan first, and then it just
Dude.
came out in the U.S., and you need to find all the
Oh.
strategies, and they're all in Japanese. You're just like, oh, why Japanese
Nah, dude.
people?
When I was when I was in like elementary school or something, back basically back when the Super Nintendo was the big thing. Like my sister's boyfriend at the time, he had like the adapters for a Super Famicom. So he had a bunch
snap.
of Japanese games, right? And like he let us borrow them for an extended period of time. And I would be playing a bunch of Japanese games. Like and I don't even know how, like, I don't remember what they looked like the menus and stuff, because in games you can kind of tell, you know. It's like start a game, or maybe it was just straight up English and I'm just like being retarded or something. But like, I mean, in a few of them, like their instruction sets had to be like in Japanese. It's just like, well, I'm just gonna skip that and see what happens, you know, because in a game you try to figure out mechanically how to play it, right? But you're not as like concerned with the story or stuff like that. But another thing I can think of is back when Glorious Arcade Infinity still existed, they had the Japanese Typing of the Dead arcade machine there. So trying to play, you know, House of the Dead but with keyboards, except the word started in Roman alphabets, like they'd be in katakana, hiragana and stuff like that, but they're like A, B, K, T, you know. And then they started like asking you questions actually in Japanese, and then that's when we were like, how do you type this? And it would always auto die because we couldn't fill anything. We would just type randomly to try to like attempt to like type anything, and you know, I didn't know. I didn't know at the time, you know.
You had no idea what you were doing.
Yeah.
I
All
remember
right, Wilson.
Oh.
We intercepted Wilson.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you can talk about things that aren't necessarily. I mean, it's supposed to be all inclusive of Japanese subculture.
Well, related to idols, the most frustrating was trying to play the PSP game, the AKB 1/48 or whatever.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
That
and
game
then
was terrible.
I don't know. So I would try to just look up like vocabulary that they have in that sentence on my phone or whatever, and I was like, oh, this means you know, this is complication, and I was like, okay, that's not the answer, so I picked something else. and then she ends up getting mad at me, and it frustrates me so hard. And I think even Japanese people will get frustrated at that.
No, dude, that game was
Like,
so
like-
obvious.
Yeah.
It'd
It was
be
like,
like, I made lunch for you. Like, how do you think? Like, okay, oh, it's really good. Or like, oh, it's
Punch in the
alright. Or like
face.
3, like, just get out of my face. I never want to see you again. Like, it's pretty obvious which one's the right
it was
one.
only like 3. There was like a good answer, the okay one, and then the really crappy one that makes her like not ever call you again.
hmm
And if you knew Japanese,
Mm.
like, it's so obvious which is like which answer is which.
So
Well,
there
I
was
wouldn't
a-
know.
Yeah, I
At
know.
the time,
We're talking about that. We're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the difficulties you
I
encounter.
remember like way back when I used to have like a Monster Hunter video podcast. I was super into Monster Hunter, right? And so one of the games, Portable Third, wasn't gonna get localized in the West. So I was like super butthurt. I was like, oh, okay, well I'll probably still record this anyways, whatever. So I like bought the game, and then that's when I like realized how much of it I like took for granted, like the fact that it was like subtitled or like translated, right? Because like you'd have items that were completely different but have the same like picture icon or whatever. Like an herb, which would heal you, whatever, right? Like would have the same icon as like an ivy, which you'd use to make like a net with, and it's just like, and so at the time I didn't read any Japanese, so I was just like, I hope this works. Nope. Okay, I guess I'm dead. You know. Like, and then a month
It's
later,
like
a bunch of
Russian.
fans translated it, and also butthurt. But I think like one of the things about like it depends on the fandom. I mean, I think as an anime fan, you don't really have this much of an issue anymore, right? Like with Crunchyroll and things like that.
Yeah.
Even legally, there's so many ways to watch. Like you can
Mhm.
watch things like like within the same week it comes out now. Like,
Yeah.
like, ridiculous to me.
Oh, you don't think it affects those as
Not-
much?
No, it still does. I mean, there's
Yeah.
still the stereotype of like, oh, look at this anime weeb who thinks he knows Japanese just because he watches Naruto, you know?
No, but I mean, like,
I'm gonna be Hokage someday, and you can't do anything about it.
let's say, all right, Hokage.
The Hokage.
The whole cage.
And so, like, let's say, like, I don't know, whatever came out on Crunchyroll, your Naruto.
Mhm.
Naruto comes out on
Krill
Crunchyroll,
krill.
and it's subtitled. It's subtitled in English.
Uh-huh.
You think it affects you that much?
The story of a shrimp who needs a venture father.
Krill Crow.
Wait, what do you mean by if it's subtitled, does it affect you?
Yeah, like, for example, like, you don't know Japanese, right? And it's subtitled in English. Do you think there's any like, have you encountered any problems?
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
what I find fascinating is that okay, so I guess I like the whole idea of hey, if something's in another language and you're willing to like put the time in to learn it and whatever, do it, you know. For me, it was Japanese. It was like I really want to like know what they're saying, so I want to learn a little bit of it. You know, when it comes to some Chinese movies, like I have like a very faint understanding of what they're saying, right? What fascinated me is that there's a lot of people out there who make the statement, "I don't want to read my movies." And I'm like, what does that mean? You know, like I don't want to read like the TV I watch, and it literally just means like I don't like subtitles because I have to actually read, like look at them and read them. I just want to be able to hear and see to hear what they're saying because they're speaking, and then just see like whatever visuals that are required. And that's that's why dubs exist.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good answer.
Yeah, but then when you're like reading the subtitles and everything, like when I do it, I don't see it as like just reading a movie. Like I can still hear their voices and everything. Like I can still hear their frustration, like when they're angry or if they're crying, I can still hear them all sad. You know, so it's not like I have to imagine it myself. I mean, it's like right there in front of me.
No, but like, for example, like let's say you're watching a movie and there's like a bright green light at the corner, and it's always there. And like it's like you have to stare at it like for the most of the movie. You know what's going on, but like it's just there, right? Like it's distracting. You have to. It's something that's there. You can't get rid of it.
It is
That's
definitely
how I feel about subtitles sometimes, right? Because like if there's subtitles on the screen, you're always gonna want to read them.
Mhm.
It kind of distracts from the whole visual like thing of it, right? Like why don't you just put like I don't know subtitles on Mona Lisa, right? Because
Okay.
The
Alright.
subtitle just says
Analogy.
Mona Lisa.
But, like the thing that like there's a visual element about having subtitles that can't be ignored.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's very true. Same with like closed captions, because it's great when it has the music note and it's like music in the background. And it's just
Humming
like,
quietly.
whoops
Or-
de frickin' do.
Right, or like they have like in brackets like and then like the sound effect being made like strings and frustration.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I'm watching a Battlestar Galactica and for the intro, it's like dramatic music plays.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's much better than the regular music play.
I think like going back to like the language aspect, it's like you think about how much work goes into localizing, say, like a video game, right? It's not going to be like a straight word for word translation or anything like that, because there's a lot of like cultural and linguistic like aspects to like consider, and especially when you consider like a lot of these as like fans are like they want the fastest subs. I mean that's why Crunchyroll is like so fast as they are now and things like that. It's a huge demand and like very taxing, especially for people doing this voluntarily for free. Depending on your community or whatever, to not just like carry like the word for word translation into another language, but also to like all the like the the connotative like aspect of like what they're saying. Does that make any sense?
Like the cultural subtext.
Yeah. Because like that's like the thing I started to really appreciate once I started learning the language itself, was that the formation of language has a lot to do with like how it influences the way you perceive and think about the world around you, right? So, like especially in say like from our perspective where it's from English to Japanese, like grammatically speaking, they're like completely opposite languages, right? So it's like
Right.
naturally that has an influence on like how I as an American, as someone who grew up speaking English, would perceive my world around me versus someone who grew up in Japan, growing up speaking Japanese.
Okay. Sure thing. Well, on that note,
Sorry.
my name is Joe.
Did you never? No freaking way.
My name is Joe. I've been studying Jap. Well, okay, I took a class in university. Like, God, when was that? 12 years ago? 13.
Someday I'm gonna be like that. Oh, I took a class in university. How long ago was that?
And then like, yeah, and then like 5-6 years ago, I decided to renew my study. So I studied at a community college, and I was like, man, this is too slow. Let me study on my own. So now my level's like, well, I failed the N1 last year.
Oh.
You just needed to study more.
I just need the Ganbaru.
Yeah, dude. You need to
Ganbait more.
Yeah, you gotta
What's
go.
all Renshu stay kudasai.
Yeah. Anyway,
Can this
so,
just
like,
be the podcast where we speak Japanese really poorly?
Mina, genki shitemasu? Psycho desu. So, I actually do I don't have any. I used to do a podcast on NMD48, like a very specific idol group. Now I just do random translations on whatever idol
Thanks,
entertainment things. So, like, when you talk about, actually translating stuff, like, let's go back to Dave's topic about, like, finding information during scandals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I decided to translate some stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, yo, dude, I know the language, it's all good. But, like, one thing I totally underestimated was the ability to tell right from wrong. You don't know what, like, when people, like, sarcasm, you don't understand what's sarcastic or not. So, back there was the scandal where like this girl, like these girls got caught with something involving a hotel, like Hotelgate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So I go on like these like websites. I'm just translating comments, like, oh dude, like, oh she was over here, and like, oh because this happened, and then she called the manager, and then like now she doesn't like her, and I'm like, people still quote that to me. They're like, oh, does she not like that girl? I'm like, why are you saying that? It's like, oh, because of this one time, like when I read this translated article, I'm like, oh, that's mine. I didn't
You're
know.
all like, I'm that asshole.
I just like it's like translating the National Enquirer, man.
Well,
like,
because you translated 2-channel, right?
yeah, or like Matome
Well, that
sites.
was
where
really
they
Matome,
quoted it.
yeah. And
2chan,
that's-
that was your first mistake.
Yeah, that's an aggregation of 2chan, and yeah, if you've ever gone to like for English speakers, if you've ever gone to 4chan, like 95% of that stuff cannot be taken seriously ever.
Mm.
Right. But
Because-
like when you start out and you don't know and you can't separate the wheat from the chaff, I don't even know what the hell that means. But
Yeah, I have no idea what you just said.
the wheat from the chaff.
yo, dude, we're all farmers here. But yeah, when you can't do that and then you translate it, like, oh man, you get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
Another good
absolutely.
example this
Right,
morning, right? Because there's all this stuff about PASPO, like that one girl.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah, it's going on right now.
Yeah, some girl just like started saying she had to sleep with like ugly guys to get ahead in the industry,
Ugh.
but then she said she got hacked. And like one of my friends like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, oh, let me take a look at it. So I'd like do like a really quick translation because I'm just like, it takes me like I don't know, like a minute or two just to see what's going on. But then I don't know like the context. I don't know what's going on. And then people started like quoting me. It's like, oh, so does this mean this happened? And I'm like, I don't know the group. I can't even read her name.
Oh yes.
Well, that's a good like.
And then I didn't realize there were 3 pictures in the attachment, so I only translated 2 of them.
Nice.
And it's just like I think about these things, right? And like you guys have like no idea like what they're saying. I think one of you mentioned like, oh, they could put anything on some Jimmy with his Dark Knight Returns thing. They could put anything there, and I'm like, sometimes I put anything there.
Damn it, Joe!
But I don't do it on purpose. I'm trying to help.
Yeah.
But I think like the issue that you're talking about, like with judging, tone and like knowing what's like actually true when you're translating something is like, so it's like a very complex part of like the language, and like not just language, but you basically need to know like the culture very intimately in order to accurately understand it to that degree. So, and then
for the most part, it was mostly just news, right? News is pretty dry. You can just report.
Right. But then, like, actually, my partner is she like studies English translation, and like, so and they have to take like all these freaking courses, like the ethics of translation, and like, what is like, is it more accurate to do it like literally or like try to convey the meaning? But it's like, so then, yeah, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, like
you need a very intimate knowledge of both cultures that you're translating to and from in order to do it.
I don't have any ethics. I didn't take any ethics classes.
that's still issues that we have now to this day with like say like the Bible, right? And that's been like around for like forevers. And then but it's like oh, I prefer this translation because it's more word for word, and I'd like to like make any kind of cultural like lines myself or draw any of those lines myself. Whereas some people might be like, oh, I like this translation because it's more accessible to our culture and our understanding and things like that. But then with like anime and like J-pop and things like that, it's like, well, we have what we can get.
No, yeah, that's totally true. That's totally true.
So it's like it's completely difficult because then people don't. Because that's a style thing, right? Like one translator might prefer to like keep things as literal as possible, and another might prefer to, make it a little bit more like westernized, I guess. And it's hard for fans to kind of determine which is which, right? Especially if you have zero understanding of Japanese to begin with.
Right.
Like that's one of the things I started when I started noticing when I watch like subtitled anime now. It's like, oh, especially like on Crunchyroll, like a lot of this stuff is not literal. Like if you get taught a word means something, like that's not what they'll subtitle it as, and then but it still kind of conveys like the overall general meaning. But if you had no idea about the language, you just think like, okay, I mean that works for me.
Right.
Oh, it really depends. Like let's say there's a word that means. Let's take the word bright, right? Bright has different meanings. It can mean, there's lots of light. Could mean that you're smart or something. And then think about like the antonyms for each of those words, right? So like, I don't know what's an antonym or not antonym, a synonym for something that's like, like smart, okay, intelligent, okay. Both of those words have different connotations, right? And they all start, and all you're translating is bright. And, like, it could mean smart, it could mean intelligent, or each one has, like, English, what is it? Yeah, they both have, like, different connotations, but they're very subtle. And then, like, imagining, like, all those errors, like, mixed into one single translation. That's, like, when like sometimes like yeah, you said like sometimes it's not literal, sometimes it is literal, but you just didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Or because like the definition you thought it meant, right? Because when you learn a word in like the book, it's like, oh well, akarui means bright, so obviously like every time they say it, I should expect to see the word bright there, but it might have a completely different one, like oh it was bright in darkness or something, so I don't know, it was actually a nebula, whatever, I don't know, I just made that up.
Well, yeah, or even things like what I've noticed is like it's what's always harder is when you go from a word that's in Japanese that would have like it's one word in Japanese but it has multiple meanings in English. You know, so like I think the most common one would be like omoshiroi, right? For example.
Oh yeah.
It can mean either funny or like just interesting depending on like
Yeah.
the context it's in. And there's like so many times I'll see it like reversed based upon my understanding of like the context, right? But it's just like I don't want to assume that the translator was just like, oh, I heard omoshiroi, I'm putting in interesting no matter what, you know, like oh, the comedian was very interesting. You know, like,
Is there sarcasm there?
No, my favorite is when they're like, oh, what kind of guy do you like? Oh, I want omoshiroi, like.
I want an interesting guy.
It's like every time it's like I want an interesting guy. I'm like I don't think that's what it means, man.
Yeah, that's funny.
What beats?
I tend to think that it means interesting, and I'm like, oh, that's wrong.
So
Well,
this
it
was
could
my
be- it
passive
could be
aggressive
right.
way of calling out Dave.
Yeah.
It could be right, and then you
Yeah,
know
maybe
maybe you
we're
got it
all
wrong.
wrong.
I wouldn't be wrong.
There you go. Progress in Japanese. But yeah, what else is there to talk? So, any other difficulties that you guys encountered?
How about like actually communicating with Japanese people?
Do you want to communicate with Japanese people?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah.
You said that sarcastically.
Well,
Yeah, for sure.
that was kind of my impetus for starting to learn Japanese. Like, aside from like wanting more like shows to watch, I would have like these like random delusions. As an Idol fan, I would have these random delusions about like, oh man, what if I'm like walking down the street in Vegas one day, and then I happen to see like Shinoda Mariko turning up, and then I'm not gonna know what to say to her. I'll be like,
Yeah, you just...
The eyes at her.
me fan, hope you understand. You know.
and you run away.
I don't know. To me that's funny because it's not like, you know, like oh, studying like getting to N1 level will make it any better. It's like oh well, how's the economy?
Yeah, that's true. There's quite a difference, right, between conversational Japanese and say whatever the JLPT tests you on.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
I mean, there's no verbal component to that test, so that is like one criticism of that certification.
There's listening, but
Yeah, there's listening.
the
But
listening's like there's such dicks in the listening. It's like
Wait, how does it go?
it'd be like oh you know what's your name? It's like oh Sakiko we're gonna have a meeting, so I want you to bring the water with the green label and the pen, and then oh that guy's coming from like South America, so I think he'll need the pencil, but not the pen, and I think he's scared of green labels, but I think it's okay. The question would be like, so like what store does he go to? Like what the
Those
Not
elaborate
green
listening
label
comprehension stories. Yeah. So yeah, there's that. I mean, you know, you can self-study, and then when you get dropped off in Tokyo, because that's what that's what happens. You study, and all of a sudden, a seagull comes over, picks you up, drops you off in Tokyo. There's the likelihood of you being able to hold a really good conversation is pretty low, because like with language, it's always about practice. Conversation, is a huge thing in human interaction, and so like I don't know where I'm going with this. I just wanted to talk about the differences between like studying it in an academic.
I thought the original topic was do you want to talk to
Oh, do you want to talk to Japanese? Yeah. So like you go to school, right? I went to East Irvine. They have a pretty good Japanese program over there. But it still has to be very academic. It needs to be focused on specific aspects of Japanese culture, and their curriculum has to be formed a certain way to pass like state standards or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I just, I wanted to honestly be able to, like, I figured this out much later, obviously, but I wanted to figure out how to communicate better with Japanese people, maybe even just people in general, just cause, right? Obviously, because I love like Japanese pop culture so much for so long, it's always been like a special thing to me. It's like, oh look, like, hey, you're a Japanese person, Japanese foreign exchange student, like let me talk to you. Like I'm not that creepy, but yeah, like there would be a lot of Japanese exchange students who would come to our school, and I befriended quite a few of them because they either knew each other or it was part of like our like conversation partners activities where we'd sit down. Japanese learners would sit down and talk with them, and they wanted to learn English, so we had an actual like cultural exchange going on, and it was really neat. And so that's the reason. So that's the reason why I wanted to like learn Japanese to communicate with Japanese people, because there's a lot of things I like from that country, and so being able to talk to people from that country about the things in their country is kind of like a cool thing. That's the gist of it.
So is it more like focused on like just talking to like the everyman, like, oh, you're Japanese, let me talk to you, or do you also have like an interest in speaking to Japanese people that are also fans of whatever subculture?
Obviously the more interesting thing is to talk to Japanese people who are also a fan of the same subculture, because at the end of the day, I mean, I can make small talk with anyone here, right? But it's not going to be like super genuine. It'll be like, hey, how's the weather? Like, hey, how's the economy, right? Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, if you like the economy, that's one thing you can talk about. But yeah, like one of my most fulfilling moments when I was in my last few trips was when I was able to just converse with like 48 group fans while in line at a handshake event, or while just there, It was the fact that we had some sort of camaraderie, and we were both from different parts of the world, but we could share this one thing with each other because that's what we're into.
Oh, that's so cute.
I know. I'm so moved now. Yeah.
Single tear.
Are you one of those single tier people?
So Wilson has to say, because he doesn't talk a lot.
About speaking to Japanese people?
I mean, like, are you specifically interested in speaking with Japanese people, whether or not they're in the culture, or whether or not they have like the same interests, or do you just,
Yeah, I guess I would just add in like my expectation of the study abroad that I'm about to go to. Like, I'm assuming Joe agrees with me that we are there so that we can better our Japanese, especially conversational wise, because it's not quite easy to run into a Japanese person in the middle of the street and just happen to talk to them with where we're at right here. So.
Oh, okay, I was about to be like, in Japan it's easy.
Yeah.
It's quite easy.
I was like, wait, I gotta mention we're in America.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, although like, I feel that it is good for us to be able to speak to Japanese people, but it's also the only thing you can do while you're there. I mean, obviously, like if they know English, then yeah.
No, you could go purposely finding other expats. Just be like, hey, you wanna hang out? Cause
No, but then like you're kind of like boot camping yourself if you're gonna be there for a year.
Oh, yeah,
right? Like you're forcing yourself to go through this uncomfortable stage of learning Japanese through conversation, but it's good for you. So it's like that's what I've been feeling this entire time, like thinking about like studying abroad, because it's gonna feel uncomfortable, but it's a learning process, and I have been there for a month. I was homestaying, and the language barrier really was frustrating because I was living with Japanese people, and there's so many things I couldn't explain, and like there was just a lot of things that I just didn't say straight up. Like if I wanted to explain something but I couldn't do it in Japanese, then I just stopped talking. And yeah, and then if I stopped talking, if I stopped talking, then my homestay parents would be like, "Oh, you don't want to say anything about it, huh? It's like you're too good for us or whatever."
No, I just don't know how to
Uh,
say this.
I said shut up because we were
Yeah.
trying to talk on, what is it, Saturday?
Oh, I was about
They
to
were
actually
like, oh,
bring
I don't
that
know how
up.
to explain it. I'm like, yo, dude, just use words that you know. Like, get it
No.
out.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. I was about to bring this up. Like, it's like, do you ever like go to say like, okay, for me, it's like when my family goes on a trip to Vietnam, for example, right? During that trip, my Vietnamese will get like exponentially better.
Oh yeah, don't you love that?
Yeah, yeah, because
Oh, yeah.
you're in a situation where you're like forced to use it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's like I feel like it's the same thing with like like say like Japanese with like a Japanese speaker, right? Like, so I used to in San Diego, I used to go to this weekly Japanese language meetup, and it would just be filled with like students who like are learning Japanese, and then there'd be a lot of international students from Japan who are trying to learn English, and it's supposed to be like a language exchange kind of situation. But usually it'd be mostly just like the English speakers speaking English and helping the Japanese speakers out because they'd be too too shy to like speak their Japanese,
Mm.
which is so bad. And then like, and this is where I come in. It's like unfortunate, but it only like I'm only very I'm a very I would say I'm decent at speaking in Japanese if I'm feeling confident, and I'm only confident when I'm like drunk. So when we're like after the meetup, we go drinking and like or eating. We go out to eat and then we get some drinks and whatever. And then I like start feeling a little bit more loose. It's like okay, suddenly I can speak Japanese, and it was like terrible because that should be like, you shouldn't really need to depend on something to speak a language.
Well, that's like the big thing about language acquisition or just foreign languages in general. I think a lot of people say the biggest thing is just don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
But
people.
Like the time I wanted okonomiyaki and he asked me if I wanted like mayonnaise and sauce and everything, and I just told him my name.
What?
I
Really?
still didn't understand what
Oh.
he's saying, so I'm like, oh, my name's Joseph.
Yeah, I was talking to this
Nice.
girl, and then she was, I forget what the word for like what your ethnicity is, but it sounded like she was like asked me what do I eat, so I just kept saying Zenbu like everything.
I
Uh,
am a child of the world.
And then she just eventually was like, no, what are you? Are you Japanese? I'm like, oh no, oh, that's what you're asking. No, God no. But yeah, it's because I mean, if you think about it, like on the opposite end, right? As like an English speaker, if you're helping, say, in this case, a Japanese person with their English, if they make a mistake, you're not going to be like, oh, why are you so bad at this? Oh God, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Yeah.
You just be
Well,
like,
some people do
yeah.
that.
well, yeah.
Especially, yeah. If you are planning on going over there to Japan and you hope to like better your Japanese by speaking to a Japanese person, I'm pretty sure it's going to be straightforward to know that you're not from there if you're going to be trying to speak Japanese. So they're going to go easy on you, and they're not worried about how well your Japanese is because they're not your teacher. They're not going to be very strict on what you say. They just want to better understand you.
Right.
And from what my experience has been, they're usually more just excited that you have taken like an interest in learning the language.
Oh yeah.
You know.
You get a
So-
lot of sugoi, speak Japanese.
Oh,
your
if
Japanese is so
you know
good.
like, just a little bit of slang, they'll be like so impressed. Like, oh,
Yeah, but I was gonna mention that it's a lot of like saving face,
Mhm.
where they don't want the embarrassment between both you and them of
Yeah.
like I know your Japanese is rudimentary, and I'm trying to communicate with you, but I don't want to like bring up that glaring fact. And so it's this really awkward conversation of like I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say, and you're trying to figure out a way to communicate with me effectively. And it's a hurdle, it happens as well. It's like only what someone who is trying to learn Japanese will like experience rather than like someone who just completely doesn't know and will only speak English or something like that.
I want to rewind the topic, right? Because I asked you guys if you were interested in actually speaking to Japanese people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really interested in it speaking specifically to Japanese people.
Mm.
Is there a reason for that?
One thing that I thought was interesting, right? Like, I started playing Dota 2, like 2-3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had a friend who was Japanese, and like we met playing DDR, but that was like 10 years ago. It's like, oh, I didn't know you played Dota 2. I'm like, okay, let's play. So we started playing, right? And like all his friends that play are also Japanese. They're Japanese American, so their English is obviously, yeah, American English. So, but like, yeah, sometimes I'd play it, it'd say stuff in Japanese, and I would just like dick around and like use Osaka Ben or something. They're like, oh, you're so funny or whatever. Like, what are you speaking? It's like we did introduce me to new guys. Like, oh, like who's that? Oh, it's like, oh, that's Joe. It's like, oh, is he Japanese? Like, no, but he speaks funny Japanese. But like when I think about it, right? Like I don't go like it's kind of weird just to talk to somebody just for their ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
No, well, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's like, hey, are you Japanese?
It's that yellow fever, bruh.
Yeah.
But well, it's because you have an interest in like whatever bridge interest, like anime or idols or whatever, and so you spent this time learning Japanese. You're gonna want to practice it, and it's usually what's the best people to practice it with.
Well, no, okay, let me flip it around on you. Like,
Mm.
God, what's something you don't like? But that's very typically American.
Spiders. Oh.
Oh god.
I'll be like, oh, Dave, like, you're American, right? Like, how do you think, what do you think of the Patriots, like, in Deflategate, right? Like, you might not be interested in football.
Yeah.
But, like, if they insist, like, talking about it, then it's like, I really like football, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
The same thing, like, when I think about talking like a Japanese, it's like, oh, well, they come from the land of anime, J-pop, or whatever. But then you talk to them, they're like, oh, I don't really watch that. Or,
Well, yeah, but that's
like, oh, you like anime? It's like, yeah, I really like, what is it, like, Miyazaki. They're like, oh, how do you like, Attack on Titan? They're like,
Die.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's that. Well, that's like when you get more into like stereotyping and stuff. I feel than just like the language sharing, though. Like, because if you talk to someone, you can also just ask them what their interests are, and then try to bridge off of that. Like, oh, tell me more about this. What do you like about this? And,
kind of. It depends on how specialized vocabulary.
Yeah, it does depend, and it depends on the people involved too. Because like one of my best friends who lives in Japan. Who was like one of the first guys I met from Japan. He has no interest in he lives a 5-minute bike ride from Akihabara.
Yeah.
But he's like before I went to go visit him, like he said he had never been there before. Like he has no interest in nerd culture, anime, idols, anything like that. Basically everything that I was into, right? But the thing is, the two of us still bonded when he was here. Because we both I genuinely wanted to learn Japanese, he genuinely wanted to learn English, and we were cool with each other. I mean, we could talk about other things, like he was a break dancer, he liked wine, he liked cooking, and it's just like we could talk about stuff like that,
Is he single?
He still is actually.
So all the ladies out there, Dave's friend.
Yeah. He dated like one of the Miss Tokyos. Or something.
Oh, snap.
One year. So I was like, wow.
Tokyo's a big place, man.
Yeah, that's true. But I was like, what?
I think the population is like the size of California's population or something.
Yeah, it's
according to the presentation I went to today, it has I don't remember anything from it, but I actually specifically went to a presentation about like the population and like life in Tokyo. I feel really crappy.
Sweet.
I forgot about that presentation.
It has like the third worst traffic in the world.
Yeah.
With LA being fourth. So I'm like, hey, so if we go to Tokyo, it's gonna be like
it's just like home,
right? Yeah.
Well, you're not driving in Tokyo.
Yeah.
But I think but I can see what that means. It just like it when you speak with like another person, regardless of language, for me, I feel like it has to be like. Just like if you were to speak with any person who shares your language, you have to be considerate and open to like what they want to talk about, right? Like if I just meet somebody here, I'm not gonna be like, so you like idols, So it's like,
right.
I mean, if it comes up, it comes up. But like same thing with like most Japanese people I've met at the language meetup. I actually keep this stuff relatively secret, like. Like, oh, they ask
you
me
pull
like,
away the Trino Oshito.
Yeah. Why are you learning Japanese? I just like the culture.
Oh, really? You're not straight up like, oh yeah, dude, actually I like idols.
No, I mean, I'll say like I like music or I like anime and things like that. And then if they ask me more, I'll like explain more. I'm always open, but I'm not like, because I mean that's not really lying. It's what I like the music and I like anime and things like that.
You'll mention it if it comes up or if they ask about it.
I think
Again,
it's just
don't tell them until they ask. Yeah.
It depends on the person too. It's just like if I
Unless
look at
it-
them and I'm like, this guy looks like a closet Woda. Here we go.
well, yeah. I mean, naturally, I mean that's why I feel like if I went to Japan, for example, and I was at a handshake event or like an idol thing, and I'm waiting in line. Obviously, these people are all idol fans. That's probably what I'm gonna like talk about, But I'm like
so
just-
excited. So excited for Jimmy's experience.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
For me to like just like suddenly realize how little Japanese I know when I like surrounded by all these signs.
No, trust me, it's such a. I mean, it's a humbling experience, but it's very fulfilling because, like when you were talking about how you go to Vietnam for a couple weeks and then all of a sudden like you exponentially like improve, right? Same thing with Japanese. If you have a foundation, you learn how to use it, and that's again, that's something that fascinates me about human communication and language acquisition. It's just the more you have to use it, the better you'll get at it, and that's the whole point of like immersion.
Yeah.
So seeing your growth from like the beginning to the end of your trip, even if it's short, like it's still really cool to see. Especially, I mean, obviously it'll take more effect if like you try a lot harder. Like I'm gonna talk to this guy, like I'm gonna talk to every person, like I'm gonna talk to a person in every building like every day or something. Like yeah, you're probably gonna help yourself out more than if you're just like, I'm gonna get by not doing anything as much as possible.
Dave,
Which is
help me?
possible.
Dave, help me. Dave?
Yeah. Like you can literally walk into stores, pull money out, lay it down, they'll count it, and then leave, Like, you could do that.
Did you even buy anything? Or did you just pull out your money and leave?
No, you just walk into stores,
Give them your
leave
money.
Like, each
walk
money,
out.
like,
and then as you're walking away, they chase you and return your money to you.
And then you force them to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, it's really awkward.
That's when I just full on exile it every time I leave the hotel room in the morning. Minasan, psycho!
Oh.
God damn it. All the maids are just like, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
yeah, I hate you.
Yeah.
No, I'm also like, I don't know. At least like in a social situation, I always love joking about how like I was into anime games or like idols or something. It's so funny to me. Like I don't know if it's just like.
Or just
I
like
don't know
the
if you're laughing at me.
it's like you added like the to me part
To
like
me.
at the very
Yeah.
end.
Well, I mean like again, like I don't wear it on my sleeve. Like, oh, dude, you don't like you never heard of Momokuro? Like,
Oh, jeez.
no, not like that. But I mean, like, so I do like this language thing where I just like look for pen pals to talk to online, right? And then one time I was like, oh, I'm gonna be in Tokyo. I was like, oh, we should meet up. Okay, that's fine. Let's go. And then like what did we do that day? I think I was supposed to go to a Halloween party, but we had no, we were supposed to go hiking, but it was raining. So we're like, oh, what do we do? It's like, oh, let's just go over here. Okay, fine. Oh, it's like, oh, let me invite my other friend. Okay, cool. Oh, you want to go karaoke? Okay, that's cool. And then we go in, right? And like I sing like all the typical songs, like the Choo Choo Train Exile, right? Everybody knows that. Huh? And then I put in like a Momokuro song. Oh man, they got so hyped for that. And then afterwards, it's like, oh dude, like I really want to go to like a concert because it seems really cool. Like the atmosphere is like crazy. And they're like, oh, are you like they lived like talk to me. It's like, oh, are you a Woda? I'm like, no, dude. I the song was funny.
What are you, crazy? No, man.
No, see, like I remember the first time I went to like karaoke with like AKB SoCal people, and I sang Heavy Rotation, and then Dave was doing fan chants.
Oh.
Like a part of me on the inside wanted to tear up. I was like, I'd found my place because I would go and do with like the Japanese language meetup I went to in San Diego, right? And if I would like put on Heavy Rotation, some other dude might sing it with me, but he's singing it like ironically, and afterwards he's like, oh, Kimochi Warui, oh, it feels so gross, oh. I'm like, yeah, man, I know, right? Oh, God.
I don't know, I just remember doing Woda, like when I went karaoke and we did Woda chants to like Pharrell's Happy song. And then like somebody would sing like an AKB song. No chance. For real, that's Kawi for real. Like,
Oh my god.
all about that irony. Okay, what else do we need to talk about? Any other difficulties? Talked about translation. Talked about Oh, here's one thing that I was really curious about because we're all into music, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Lyrics.
Oh
How do you feel about
yeah.
lyrics?
Did you say what
I
do you know
mean-
about lyrics?
No, how do you
Like in
feel
what
about
context?
lyrics?
Oh.
What context?
Yeah.
Here's like an example, right? Like I really like the song "First Love" by Utada,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mm.
and then I think like it was only like 3 years ago when I actually looked up the lyrics, and I'm like, okay, and then I like actually read the lyrics, and I'm like, wow, all right, like this is what this means. I don't think it made the song that much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
things
mean-
like that.
When I first got into J-pop, I didn't really care too much about the lyrics. I'm a huge music nerd, so I was more into like the instrumental aspect of it. But then like once you pay attention to AKB48 lyrics, you notice that a lot of them are actually really good. They're all written by the same guy. And
They're
then
all
like
terrible. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, I guess that's a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a very subjective.
That is subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're
I
pretty
mean,
bad.
I guess I would just say in my opinion.
Well, it depends. It depends what songs you're talking about. I'm thinking of like the singles where like.
Oh
you
no,
know,
like A-side singles, they've gone down the drain. Like,
well, yeah.
well, like, yeah, I'm a huge fan of like the stage songs though. Like when I can't think of an example really.
I think Enkyori Poster is a really good song.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a good example. Like it's all talking about how like a fan's like experience.
It is the story
And,
of a Woda.
Yeah, the story of Oda, of how the poster on their wall is the closest that they can be to them or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then like it's all very interesting, but like as people who don't know Japanese, you have to look for it in order to like finally understand it. I mean, once you start learning,
Let's
you
say
can,
let's say you know the lyrics, right? Now you understand the
Yeah.
lyrics. Did they affect your enjoyment that much?
not really, no.
Yeah, I feel the same. I was just curious
Yeah.
about everybody else.
It depends on the song.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, after like David told me about like the meaning of Inquiry Poster, I didn't like start listening to it more. Like, oh yeah, it is about like Odas and stuff, like the Oda experience. Yeah, like no, like it's a very interesting. It's like a story to read, It's more of like me sitting down and reading it than me like enjoying the song more.
Yeah, there's
I mean,
a
a lot of
very.
people. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, but a lot of people do that though. Like they care a lot about the lyrics when they're listening to music. Well, when you think about like Americans who listen to like Drake or whatever, like.
Man, your examples are so.
Yeah. Drake isn't one I would go to for lyrics.
No. No, but there are people that are like that,
Yeah.
But and that's why they don't like touch like Japanese or like any song that they can't understand because I have to know the lyrics for me to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that guy like what's his name? J. Cole?
Yeah, J. Cole.
I heard his album was pretty sick. Like his.
Oh,
his
it's really,
actually-
really good. I highly recommend
like you have
it.
to when you understand the lyrics, it actually makes a huge difference on like how you.
Yeah, because he's like a very like big storyteller, and that's like the kind of thing I feel like music can be enjoyed like several ways. Like so for example, like okay, let's go with J. Cole. I mean, you can just listen to it and just enjoy it for like the arrangement and the composition and like the beats and things like that, and just be like, okay, this is a dope song, and then you can go back and then you like read the lyrics and it's like, oh wow, okay, there's like a good amount of storytelling or like his metaphors are like very impressive and things like that. So I mean, I don't feel like you enjoy it anymore. I just feel like you enjoy it in a different way now. You know what I mean?
Do you find it enjoyable in the context of 48 groups? or idols,
To be completely
or
fair,
even J-pop.
and with
You know?
as far as with J-pop goes, my only enjoyment from understanding lyrics is like it's very like selfish. It's just like when I like realize I know what this means now. I'm like, hey, I'm learning, I'm improving. But as far as like the actual lyric stuff, like um, it, I mean, a lot of this stuff is kind of repetitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like lyrically, especially when you, yeah, like when you guys were talking about the let's just leave it at like the A side singles for AKB or for 48 Group. You know, it's like it's kind of like the same thing. You know, okay, the side going to a door, and you know, like, okay, can I step forward? Can I go down this path? Konomichi, you know, it's
My
like
friend,
okay.
my friend always complained that like 95% of J-pop talks about love.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's I
Yeah.
mean, with most of AKB's A sides, it's unrequited love or something like that. With most idol songs, even.
Mm.
Well, another thing is like,
Even most songs in general.
yeah. Another thing is
Mm-hmm.
like, I've read about how, I mean, political commentary is not as common in Japan, especially by artists. Whereas, here is it's a huge movement and stuff like that. We've all gone through the whole like, at least I think we've all gone through the whole like punk rock phase. Like, yeah, screw the man, institution, blah blah, right?
Yo,
Yeah,
George
yeah.
Bush does not care about black people.
Yeah, whereas, and it's a double-edged sword. I actually really like a lot of the positivity of Japanese song lyrics, but it's quite obvious that there's like a wall there where they're not willing to explore stuff like political commentary, just and other themes that
Mm-hmm.
that we have in a lot of our artists in our pop industry.
But I think it's also like there's like a historical component in the U.S. that contributes to that.
Mm.
If you want to remember your U.S. history, like the Alien and Sedition Acts, where it's like they're like, oh, it's really bad if you criticize the government, and then people are like, whoa, that's not cool, and then they like repealed it, and so that I feel like that contributes to the like vocal, like political voice, like within our culture, and like without being afraid to do so, versus like in Asian countries, in like other Asian countries like Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know for sure it's like which because I'm a bit more familiar with K-pop, they're more like nationalistic, and
Mm-hmm.
like so if you say something bad about like Korean culture or something like that, then it's taken like very negatively compared to if you did basically the exact same thing like in the U.S. Like
Yeah, yeah.
all of them, you hear people say like, oh man, I like freaking like hate being American, or like I'm so ashamed of being American or whatever, and then like no one like bats an eye really, but like if you said that somewhere like in Korea, that's like it's like a whole like crap storm, like it's not
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. Like, I actually love the fact that as Americans we have the ability to say stuff like that. I mean,
There might be
Yeah.
like bands or groups that actually
Yeah,
do
yeah.
stuff in Japan. Like
Because, I
off the
mean-
top of my head, like one of the ones that like I think was known for their lyrics was this group called Radwimps. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Because yeah, we also have to understand that like as Western fans, we have like a very limited, I guess, view, especially like coming from idols into like music. That's like an extremely kind of limited pool of depth, you know.
Almost. So we had K-Betsu, we had Seifuku, Jama, whatever.
Yeah, that's why
Oh.
everyone says AKB's earlier stuff was like way more edgy and stuff. Because they
Yeah,
explored
yeah.
different themes. Yeah, even their new album where it's like Downtown Hotel is about a one night stand. And I guess just to get it out there, like with a lot of their songs, I don't want to say a lot. With a few of them, I definitely do enjoy them a lot more once I understand the lyrics, because depending on what they're talking about, I mean, I guess I'm a sucker for unrequited love lyrics and and
It's always
crap
good,
like
man.
that.
rose and manicured toes.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, yeah, most of them I can do without because they're like typical or whatever. But it really just depends on like the melody and how I feel about the song, and then the lyrics that match it or like make it seem better to me is just icing on top.
Well, I mean, then there's the Umbrella and like Sandal Lady song,
Oh my god.
and that shit will just wreck you.
Yeah, that was just let's tell a story. Oh my god, why is this so sad?
When you said umbrella, I thought of Rihanna. So
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
Rihanna at first, and then I'm like,
Hey,
oh
hey,
wait.
hey.
like
Yeah.
that story about how she's wearing nothing but black paint.
You can come into my arms. It's okay. Don't be alarmed. Come near to me. There's no distance in between. Well,
Oh,
because
jeez.
yeah, I mean, like it's not like American pop lyrics are all that more.
Well, I mean, again, it depends what you're listening to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the bubblegum pop stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like it's all going to be Janae Aiko, like, eat the booty like groceries.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
those-
bruh, but I'm a lion, and you're gonna hear me roar or whatever.
I thought that was a Lion King reference.
No, it could be the Katy Perry's Lion King. Let's do it.
10 out of 10, I'd watch
The
the
new
crap out of that.
new musical coming out.
Anyway,
So are we going back to the lyrics and whether or not they make you enjoy them
you
more?
have something left to say?
Oh well, I was gonna say like, sorry. Yeah.
No, you're starting to talk.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say like, strangely enough, like for English songs, I am the type of person who like when I listen to a song, I always listen to what they're saying. So that's like one of the reasons why I really dislike most of the rap that's coming out, because I'm like, it's just they say these awful things. And then
J.
like,
Cole,
like
listen to
Girls'
it. I want to hear your opinions on it. I'm very curious.
we can do that in another podcast.
Yeah,
We
another
just do
time.
that topic. But and then I'll also have the opposite reaction where it's like, I go, that's such a good line, like so poetic, so good. Versus like, but when I listen to like J-pop or K-pop, I'm mostly listening to how the song sounds and I guess like the general feeling of it. But like because I don't understand what they're saying, that doesn't. I think it just provides like another layer of enjoyment. So sometimes I'll look up like the translation of it, but because I don't know the language, it doesn't give me the same effect as like when I listen to an English song. So like I think like in terms of like the 48 groups, there's definitely songs where like the lyrics give the song more context, and I'm like, oh, okay, like now that adds on to the feeling that I'm getting from it. And there's like other songs where I'm like, the lyrics seem like it's like because of the way it's translated, it seems kind of like meh, and then I don't like it. So yeah.
I was thinking that way for books because I read the Brothers Karamazov, and apparently the translation I read is boring, but I don't know how deep we want to go into that. Jimmy, how are we doing on time?
I think we're out of it.
How much time has elapsed?
I don't know.
Oh, damn it, Jimmy.
Okay.
Looking on YouTube, looks like an hour and 11.
Yeah,
I thought it was 40 minutes. God
Why
damn
don't I
it.
see the time when I play it on YouTube?
That's what I'm
You
wondering
have to go
too.
backwards, right?
Oh.
Mm.
Oh,
Yep. So yeah, we're at just about an hour and 12 now. So
Jesus Christ, we failed
let's end it.
badly again.
Yeah.
Hey, it's better than last time.
All right.
You know what's funny is you named this one episode 2, even though last time it was the pilot.
Oh,
aka
crap.
episode 0.
we can change it. We can change it, right?
Get wrecked. Yeah, you can change it.
so
Okay,
no one would have
let's
known
wrap
unless
it up.
they didn't
Anybody
say
have-
anything.
Let's wrap it up. Anybody have any final comments? Any topics that you liked, disliked?
I think.
Well,
oh, go ahead, Narzake.
Well, I do want to say, like, if you are an idol fan, or if you're into like Japanese culture in general, like, and you want to learn Japanese because of it, it's going to be uncomfortable, definitely, for you to, go to that fluency level that you always wanted to be at. So don't expect like being a free ride, right?
Yeah, expect hard work.
Yeah, expect hard work. You won't be getting there unless you do it. You start running. I can't think of a better metaphor.
That was a terrible
Yeah,
Yeah,
analogy.
it is. Chanro to Den Hashiru.
Well, yeah.
You
I
can't
mean,
get anywhere unless you run. Well, I'm gonna get into my car and drive there.
And for me, like, if you're a person like me, you will need somebody who will guide you through it, and that's not a bad thing. You will get there. And that is my comments for the day.
So encouraging.
Yes.
Jimmy.
I definitely think, for those people who are looking to get into the fandom, whether it be like anime, games, or idol culture, don't feel pressured to feel like you need to learn Japanese. It certainly helps, but there's definitely resources out there. But I don't know, that's what I told myself when I first got into it, and here I am learning Japanese. So I don't know. I feel like it just depends on you and how far you want to get into it, but it varies.
Okay, Julia.
My thoughts are that if you don't feel like learning Japanese, that's okay. You can still enjoy the stuff that's out there, whether it's like music or anime, in your own way. It's going to be different from people who do understand, but it doesn't make it make you any less of a fan of that stuff. I sort of see it as like say like the Big Bang Theory, where they have like a lot of referential jokes, and not everyone's gonna get all of them, but there's gonna be something for you there that you can still enjoy.
You gotta remember though that if you decide not to study Japanese in order to understand things, you're dependent on other people, to understand this and this and this content.
Yeah, you could be dependent on me.
Oh,
Joe
you don't want
carry-
that.
Joe will carry us all through this fandom.
Right. That is something
Right.
to keep in mind.
I was
Right.
gonna say Big Bang Theory gets invalidated for being fake nerd jokes, but that's just a reputation it has amongst like super nerds.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, let's save that for another conversation, because I can get into Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
I mean, like, get into talking about it, not into it itself. Anyways.
God damn it! That is an inside joke, and you need to stop using it.
Anybody interested? Big Bang Theory, Titus, laugh track?
Oh god, it's so bad! And I watched the entire thing!
anyways, we're wrapping up, guys. Let's stay focused.
Any last words?
You're asking me, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
the other day, actually.
I was gonna be like, no, I'm a huge purist. You gotta learn Japanese to do it the right way, cause Bushido and shit. No, but like, trust me. If you're a huge weeboo like me, I mean, you're gonna wanna learn it. If it's not your passion, it's not. I know plenty of people who love Japanese stuff, but they don't want to be in the business of learning another language or anything like that, and that's their deal. What I will say though is that, if you are a big fan of Japanese culture in general, and you really do want to learn more about the culture itself, learning the language of any culture is a huge step in there. It gives you a really, I was gonna say a really big window into like what the culture is like, because that is basically infused in their language. And so, if you want to learn more about the Japanese in general, that's one way to do it, to look at their language.
That's a better metaphor than mine. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't get anywhere unless you run.
Dang, hashtag all
Poor
true
people in
fans.
the wheelchairs. They're like,
Oh shit!
oh, God damn it, Wilson. Why do you do that to you?
Alright, Joseph?
No, actually, I totally disagree with you guys.
No?
Learn the language. It's actually really interesting. There's a lot of stuff that you realize you don't know, and then you don't know it because you don't know. But once you start learning, there's like a lot more like you can get into. You'll find different interests. So at the very least, just start. And also, a lot of people are like, "Oh, when will I finally be able to understand like anime or whatever?" Right?
Never.
The thing is that it's never like, oh, like, okay, I reached chapter 3 in this book. Now I can understand like everything. But like, you'll realize that there's like things you can understand, things you can't understand. You'll learn like little chunks here and there. Sometimes a word, there's a big chunk somewhere, but a little chunk somewhere else. Yeah, but
Language is also like a living thing. It changes, it evolves. You know, new words get added to it. Things change. It's an ordeal to have to like maintain fluency in multiple languages, but
Yeah, it definitely is. But
I think it's very enriching. So.
yeah, my opinion is that like if you take 10 minutes out of your day, or take 10 minutes out of watching like an anime episode to actually study the language, just for 10 minutes, like, just 10 minutes.
Danny Chu did it by taking a shit every day. He brought kanji cards into the bathroom.
I was gonna say, dude, I do that. I've been doing that for like 26 years.
And you still. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you need to get your bowels checked if you've been in the bathroom for 26 years.
No, I've been going to take a dump every day for 26 years.
Help, guys! I've been on the toilet for 26 years now.
See this? I am so regular. It's not even funny.
Oh god.
What's your Metamucil eraser?
Anyways,
that looked like generic Metamucil.
It's a vitamin shop, actually.
It's vitamin
So
shop.
yeah, it's generic.
God damn it.
Anyway, but yeah, I would recommend like at least trying it. Try it for like 3-4 months. So just putting in like 10-15 minutes a day. You'll be surprised like what you're missing out on.
I get so mad, dude, when my friends are like, "Oh yeah, I took a semester, but I can't learn anymore." I'm like, "You're 27 years old, for God's sake. What do you mean you can't learn?"
I mean, I've already mastered hiragana and katakana.
I can understand.
I was.
No. Most people only know hiragana, and they're like, "Oh, so I still can't read katakana." I'm like, we can't read shit. Good job.
No, but my favorite is like, oh, like yeah, I can understand. I just have trouble reading kanji. Like, no, you fucking don't. Like, I'll write this thing in hiragana. You still can't understand it.
Dude, it's harder to read it with all hiragana than it is without the kanji.
Yeah,
also, I still have trouble reading katakana.
Yeah, no, katakana still gets you because it's like...
You don't use it enough.
It's not as common.
But, yeah, again, like, just, I don't know, just try it, man. You learn a lot.
Just do it. Put on your Nikes and just do it.
You might realize there's some things that you were watching, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Or, like, sometimes you'll watch something and be like, well, the subtitles were, like, 100% right.
Can't get anywhere unless
even then, like, you eliminate that doubt, like, is that what he really said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he really said.
Yeah. But then you get to confirm it for yourself, so you feel good about it.
Exactly.
So, what is this? Tear My Glutes podcast episode number 2?
One.
Beta, second beta episode as we try.
Yeah, let's call it the beta.
Beta 2.
We started really crappily, and then we're not sure if we're gonna keep the name and all that stuff.
Or even this format. I don't know how many people are actually interested.
True. Yeah. I mean, you could go to Chicago and then never want to do this podcast anymore.
Yeah, dude, we gotta get ready for our flight, Joe.
Jeez, mine is 5 minutes.
So are you calling that Uber, or is Tom gonna pick you up?
They won't answer my question. Alright, well, thanks everybody for taking the time out and watching. We appreciate it. Please give us more feedback in the YouTube comments or on Twitter. And for ideas for future topics and things like that as well. I've been Jimmy, aka Swoltaku.
Yes, Tom Glutes is his name.
Mm-hmm.
Their leader.
Alright, so...
good night, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it.